Do you want a piece of paper or anything?
I do. Do you know what, actually? I do have a notepad in my bag.
Let's
Can
do
we
it.
get it?
I need, like, my goal
Can I
is
get it?
to get him to, like, just understand that
Okay.
I'm not crazy.
This was recorded at the Media Joint.
That is so rogue.
Boy, that's a bit rogue.
Is it even that rogue?
Welcome back to another episode of A Bit Rogue. This week is a little bit different and it's very special. I wanted to share an encounter that I had recently. I went and got my first ever psychic reading and I thought, what better way to get you guys to believe me than bring Sue into the studio herself. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on the podcast.
That's okay. I'm so excited. This is your first podcast,
This
isn't
is
it?
our first podcast.
I know. I'm so excited. Okay, so can you tell the listeners what type of psychic, I'm doing quotation marks, psychic reader you are?
Okay. So, like I do a lot of work. My work is basically based a lot on channeling. So I do a lot of spiritual channeling. So when I work with someone, quite often if I'm working with you, for example, you'll see me kind of look away from you from time to time, if not frequently. And that is actually where I tune in to the channeling that comes through with messages and anything that I need to share with you. As a psychic as well, we can go deeper into what's showing up and we can go deeper into exploring and giving you a much more clearer picture on what's showing up.
What was the name that you had for it as well? You're a clairvoyant?
Clairvoyant. And channeler.
And channeler. So two different things.
Yes. Well, they kind of work in and around the same sort of way, with the channeler. As a channeler, I'm receiving constant messages. All the time, conversation, pictures and so forth.
Because you write down as well as you're doing your reading.
Yes. Because sometimes what happens is, as I'm working, I'll either get a symbol or I'll get a word or I'll get a number. And quite often what happens is I get that because it actually affirms to the person I'm working with that whether we're dealing with someone that's come forward for them or whether it's a specific message, it just solidifies that what is happening is actually for them. Quite often I might get like they might, before I've even started with someone, they might tell me that how many children they've got or a house number or something like that. So it's really, really interesting.
Because I went in, just for full transparency, I went in and saw Sue without a booking. I was a walk-in. I had my hands in my pocket so she couldn't see that I wasn't married, and I had my phone face down. She couldn't see banks on my home screen. But the reason why I wanted to do a reading was because obviously, like Davey, who came on, he started in therapy and he decided that traditional therapy wasn't for him. He went and found a life coach who was more in like the kinesiology space. And he was like, you got to try. And I was just drawn to go and get a reading. And I just happened to meet Sue, who obviously you say you do the like mindset coaching as well. So it's like all kind of goes hand in hand.
And should I just say too, that I remember the day that you came in and I kept thinking like, I do, tape obviously into social media, but I'm not really like, I can't remember everyone and so I remember thinking to myself, I remember saying to you at the end, you look so familiar. And it wasn't to the very end of or thereabouts that we started conversing, that I clicked.
Yeah.
Because, anyone that comes to me, I see them for who they are, do you know? So there you go.
Yeah, at first I was like, did the girl on the front desk like quickly send my Instagram over or something like that? So who would be most suited to see someone like you?
Look, I get people that come in that need clarity about certain things that are going on in their life.
I feel like I walked away with lots of reassurance. Like I felt reassured when I walked away.
Good. Well, for me, what happens is when someone comes to me and they sit there and they, we sit down obviously and do what we do. And I sort of ask them, is there anything specific that they want me to look down a little bit deeper for them. Sometimes I'll say no, sometimes I'll come in with a specific situation, and then we elaborate on that. When we elaborate on that, we can go deeper, and as we can go deeper, we can then see, and I can sort of let them know what's coming forth for them or what's there for them. But at the same time, I'm also very conscious of reading them and seeing whether they have limitations within themselves of actually accepting what's really for them.
And I just had a memory of like when I first came in, you brought up Jock. And I said to her straight away, I was like, I don't want to spend my money on him. I don't want to talk about him. Let's go on to the next. So we went through a few like tarot cards as well.
Yes.
We did a tarot card reading.
Yes.
Anyone can purchase tarot cards, right? They sell them at bloody Kmart even. Do you think that anyone can use them?
Look, I think that if you're open to receiving messages and you're actually able to tune in into that energy, of course you can receive messages. I think that everyone can if you're actually in that, if you allow yourself to get into that space. What I do with cards when I work with cards isn't that I'm actually reading the cards as based on what that meaning is for that card. So you would have noticed that when you and I are doing work, and again, I always keep looking up to the right-hand side because that's how I operate. So when I'm actually getting messages coming through constantly as we're working, you'll see that as we're talking as well, I'll put cards down. So the cards are an extension of what actually I'm receiving.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily that card that I'm putting down on the table is necessarily exactly the meaning of what it is. It's an extension. They elaborate.
Yeah.
So when I work with energy and spirit, they elaborate on my messages that I'm channeling through, that I'm getting channeled through the cards.
Yeah, that makes sense because obviously like girls like sleepovers just do tarot cards and like they're not actually doing a reading, but so it's different.
It is different, much, much different. And the other thing as well is, I always encourage people to get some beautiful cards and pull a card for the day. Okay. Instead of pulling the cards and trying to give yourself a reading that's going to, get very in-depth for you and confuse you, it's just pull a card for the day and be inspired by what that card does. And I do it myself as well.
This one's a bit of like a taboo question.
Yeah. Is it
so
hard?
No, it's not. It's not a hard question. Well, a lot of people say like if someone's psychic, why don't they just like predict the footy tipping or the lotto numbers? But that's totally different concept, right? Because you're reading a being's energy. You're not predicting the future.
Okay, let me give you this example. They're true in saying what they say in the sense of, can't they do it? Yeah, well, we can do it. And I have done it.
Oh.
Which is actually quite, but they don't say to you, go buy a lotto ticket.
Yeah.
They don't say to you, go do this or go do that. But, I had a really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful lady and I was doing some work with her. And what showed up in the reading, and again, the channeling, what showed up in the channeling was that there was an abundance of money coming in. And I've said that to her and she goes, well, where's that coming from? And I went, well, they're showing me that there's an abundance of money coming in. And she said, is it an inheritance? I went, no, it's definitely not an inheritance. Is it someone lending me money? Because she was going through a little bit of a tricky moment. I said, no. And she was giving me all these different scenarios. I said, look, it's not very specific where it's coming from, but I am telling you that you're getting unexpected money and it'll be something you don't expect. And I just said off the top of my head, look, just go buy a lotto ticket or go buy a scratch or go buy something, This person did go out and buy a lotto ticket, not necessarily on that day. I think it was a day or so later, went out and bought one, stuck it in her wallet, didn't think any more of it, didn't even bother checking it till one day, probably about a month later, that she actually went to the news agency to buy something. And she had this thing still hanging in her wallet. And she said, look, can you just check this? And he goes, yeah, sure. Checked it and won $20,000.
Oh, shit. Wowee.
So the thing is, it shows that there's money coming in. Sometimes I'll be very specific and sometimes I'll just tell you that there's money coming in. But what was really...
you didn't say that to me.
No.
But anyway.
No, but I said some really, really interesting things and exciting things.
You did. During my reading, you explained that my grandfather was present.
Yes.
Do you believe in reincarnation or past lives, or do you think once we pass, we are just spirit and energy?
That's a really interesting question. When we leave our physical bodies, we become energy. I mean, we're all energy anyway, but we become energy. I do believe that you get a choice whether you come back or whether you don't.
A choice.
It is a choice.
Interesting.
Yeah, so, you know, there's a lot of, everyone has their own kind of idea around that. But sometimes you may have heard or you may have felt like someone's passed and then there's a birth of a new child that comes through.
Yeah.
And that child has a lot of characteristics of the person that's passed.
Yeah.
So, you know, it can happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is it even what about your thoughts on when people are like, oh, I love the ocean, but they hate swimming, or like actually getting in the water? Is that because like it's just a trait that they like it aesthetically, or is it from like a past life that's like passed down?
Look, I would say that there's something that triggers that person not to feel comfortable going in the water. It's always a little bit tricky to say, really. You know? I mean, that could be a lot of things.
In my reading,
Yes.
everything you said, like, I was just like, it was my first time. I wasn't sure what to expect. It's not like I didn't believe in readings. I just never like had, you know, explored the idea. But everything you were saying was just like so bang on. Like, you knew I was going away in a group of 4 the following week, and just like everything was just bang, 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 bang.
And you would remember that when you and I were doing the reading too, sorry to interrupt, but you would remember that I was actually kind of writing stuff, you know, because there was stuff coming down and they're showing me months and sort of dates. And so I was writing a lot of that. So as you're talking to me, that's what was coming through.
Yeah, it was actually surreal seeing you write it down, and then I was like, oh my God. However, I have a plot twist. So there was one thing that you mentioned.
Yes.
So we talked about a boy.
Yes.
And we were like, you were like, oh, you're going to end up with this person. And I was like, oh, you know, like we're kind of like, we're not really at that stage. And you were like, you need to speak to him.
Yeah.
And we had the convo and it went really well.
Yes.
You mentioned in the reading that he had like a bit of trauma and you said something about being avoidant. I got the full avoidant attachment situation, fully flip-flopped. I had to say to him, listen, like, I have a higher standard than that for myself, and I kind of like shut it down because, you know, you have to
protect yourself too.
You have to protect yourself,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
you need to remind a man where your standard is if
Yes.
he's not following.
Yes.
So we still talk, we're on talking basis, right?
Yes,
I
yes.
just am not going to give someone the time of day that doesn't not kiss my feet, but, you know, treat me
Yeah,
how I think
absolutely.
I should be treated. So what do you think on that kind of basis? Like, for perspective, it's giving Jamie and Dave from Maths, like where we thought like, oh, they're a great couple, great couple. And then he just went like full
But look
180.
at the fact that he's an avoidant attachment.
Yeah.
So there is a lot. See, here's the thing. These labels, titles, whatever you want to call them, they are actually existent in people around us. It's just that sometimes they're more amplified than others. And it's usually amplified when we're asking something from them.
So do you think what you said you still stick with, or
Okay, can
can they change?
Can they change? I think that what's really important is that when it's shown that someone is coming into your life and they're, you know, they've got really beautiful qualities that will really work with your qualities, you need to kind of sort of concentrate on that as well as look at your own triggers. Because anyone we've all gone through relationships that at times didn't really serve us. But I think at the time, you know, you kind of go like, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. You step away. Then you've got to go internally to really have a look at really what's going on and what the triggers were there and what showed up. Because that is also part of the bubbly stuff that happens with all of us. Now, you know, if someone's come into your experience and into your life and they've got really, really great qualities and there are some things that don't really align, well, there are obviously also trigger points. So you have to look at that. And anyone that's an avoidant attachment, an anxious style, anxious attachment, and so forth and so forth, you know, you can still work with that. You just have to learn to navigate it, you know.
Yeah. So am I going to end up with him, or like, what are we doing?
Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Eow. What do you reckon about that, Jock? Because he knows. I've told him. I
okay.
literally told him
Okay.
straight away. I was like, I saw a psychic and he said she said
Okay.
this. But what? Come on, give me your 2 cents for the listeners.
I forget which one it was again. Sorry. Which is a bad thing to say.
Which
You can
one?
take this bit out. The
guy that like.
Is this the one that you? Because this is the one you and I were talking about,
Yes.
right? Yes.
So
not the.
no. Oh yeah. Because like before my birthday, remember we had that chat, and he was like, "Yeah, I feel the same way about you." And then
that's
he
right,
didn't
that's
say
right.
anything. Like he didn't acknowledge me on Valentine's Day.
Now that
and
yeah.
that's when I was
No,
like,
well, you know,
"You're
and
flip flopping on
and
me."
you know what? There are standards,
Yeah.
and that you can't drop your standards.
Yeah.
I'm the first one to say that. I don't give. I don't really. You
Well,
know,
when
there
I-
are standards.
When I said it to him, he was like, "Oh, well, I thought you knew that I wasn't at that point yet." And it's like, hang on a minute, we had that conversation.
Yeah.
So what do you reckon?
Yeah.
He loves to say just block.
Yeah. Yeah. Look.
Yeah, but you get a hard on for terrible guys.
I don't
Having
think
said
he's
that,
terrible.
this guy I think has been the best based off what you've told me, of your options, we'll call it.
My real life bachelorette life.
Yeah, give him a rose. Don't know whether he'll get the golden rose at the end though.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. You know.
But I'm
like-
also not a professional in this area.
Yeah, and you know, when you're dealing with an avoidant attachment, it's a very complex personality, you know. But that doesn't mean that it can't happen. That
Yeah, 'cause
doesn't mean.
I said to him, like, no bueno, right?
Yeah.
And I said, I need a couple weeks. And that same week, he phoned me about something, like,
Yeah.
to do with, like, business. And,
Yeah.
like, I was just like, what are you doing?
He's connecting.
No,
He's trying to connect with you.
like, in my head, I was like, he's breadcrumbing me.
Look, I think look, I'm not going to say that isn't a possibility, but what I'm trying to say is like he reached out, there was a connection there. The amount of breadcrumbing will actually be very much in alignment to what you say. You've got values, you've got standards, you know, you still need to be who you are and be true to yourself.
Well, it just sucks for him. I can just go on more dates whilst
Well, you
he's
can.
mucking
You
around.
can. But
doing
what
his own
about
thing.
also having conversations around this?
Yeah.
You know, so they're the sticky points, right? They're the sticky points because when you're dealing with different personalities, you also need to know how to navigate the conversations with them.
So the readings don't change.
And you need to be willing to take the feedback on board.
True too.
He didn't really. What, you mean your feedback or?
No, well, just anyone's.
Yeah. I'll listen to the bit of my own drama if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Something.
That's called head noise.
I'm okay with that. Something that I found really interesting. So after our reading, I was just like raving to everyone. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And then I was like telling everyone, I was like, why are we not using these for crimes and missing people? And everyone was like, we
they
do.
They do.
So
They
I
do
wanted to
quite a
know,
lot.
have you ever assisted police or anything like that? Are you allowed
No.
to disclose that?
Well, I can say that I haven't. So given
Okay.
that I haven't, I'm pretty okay about disclosing that.
Yeah. Would you
No.
ever want to?
Yeah, because, you know, I think that when you're able to tap into energy and circumstances and situations where you can help someone, you know, it'd be great to do that. Absolutely.
Do you feel obliged to? Like it's your responsibility?
In what way? To
Because you have been, like you are, like, let's say, gifted. Do you feel like you should, you know, help out with crimes and cold cases and...
Look, it probably would be something that I would look into doing. I mean, obviously, if that situation came about, I certainly would give it my absolute everything to be as helpful as I could with everything that I'm able to, you know, help them with. Absolutely.
Because you mentioned as well to me that your mum
Yes.
was able to and your daughter is able to. So did your mum ever discuss with you, like, what you should do with your channeling?
Well, I think that as I grew up and I could see what she was doing and I could see how she was helping people, it was very evident what she was doing. I mean, obviously conversations went about, and she kind of would give me some insights and give me, she always used to say there's a sense of, I don't know if you call it a sense of duty, but certainly, let's call it an obligation.
Yeah.
If you can help someone and you have accessibility to be able to help someone, then you do it because you do it from your heart,
Yeah.
you know? So, yeah.
Wowee.
Yeah.
Well, bit of a different one for you.
Okay.
Do you have a rogue moment that you can share to the
my
listeners?
I do actually. I had actually about 3, and I thought, which one will I say so I don't come out looking like an absolute jerk out of it all? But there was this one particular one, a little bit embarrassing. So I'm one that if you go out with me, your phone goes in your bag.
Mm-hmm.
If we're having dinner, your phone doesn't come out.
Yeah.
You know, I get a bit like that because it's that kind of, you know, special time one-to-one. You know, so I'm a little anal about that. So I went to a funeral, sadly.
Mm.
I was at a funeral. I was in St. Mary's Cathedral
In the city?
in the city, church packed, a few years back now. Someone, you know, really dear friend, and also he was fairly well known in our circle of an industry and so forth. Anyway, I won't get into it. And on my phone, I have a long ringtone. And the reason why I have a long ringtone is because if it's at the bottom of my bag, I have to scavenge through everything to get to my phone.
Mm.
So just to give you a little bit of a briefing. So here we are in this church, and they've got this beautiful service. It's very heartfelt, you know. Everyone's, you know, feeling quite sad and, you know, and having quiet moments. And then, of course, there comes a point where the church is very quiet.
Mm.
You know, it's really, really quiet. You can hear a pin drop. And all of a sudden, a phone goes off, right? And my bag had my jacket over the top. And the phone goes off. And my first instinct is like, well, who the hell left their phone on? You know, like that is so, oh my God, that is so bad. Oh my God, it's my phone. And everyone's doing this, you know, and turning around and sort of, you know, looking back and looking around to see whose phone
Were
it
you
is.
looking around too?
I was looking around
You
to
have
to pretend that it wasn't
Yeah,
mine.
you have to.
So I'm doing this. That's just terrible, you know. That's just shocking, you know. And I kept thinking, stop, for the love of God, stop. And it just kept going on and on and on.
I didn't know you could
and
do a
on.
long ringtone.
Well, you know, probably, you know how you can set it for it goes into a short ringtone and then it stops, and it just went on and on. And everyone's sort of.
Do you have a normal ringtone?
Yeah, it wasn't anything crazy.
Oh,
Thank
that's good.
God. Thank God. But you know how you can hear people talking in the church and they're kind of whispering and looking
Yeah.
around. So I had to do the same thing.
Oh my
I had
gosh.
to do the same thing.
Fair
And I
enough,
was
fair
So embarrassed, absolutely so embarrassed. And I had friends with me as well. And when we all went out, I went, don't say a thing, just don't say a thing. I can't even think about it. It was the most embarrassing moment.
You were with other channelers?
I was with other friends of mine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
no one
no,
could be
no.
like, and so.
No, but yeah, that's
To telepathically tell it. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No, that's not good. Not
No.
good at all. Well, for a game, I had a little idea.
okay.
Because Jock is just like not really. Yeah, I can see him in the corner of my eye. He's not sold. I want him. Can you do a mini reading on him?
Yeah, of course I can.
Can I swap spots with you?
Yeah.
Can you show me what I need to press?
Yeah, there's only one button.
Do you want a piece of paper or anything?
I do. Do you know what, actually? I do have a notepad in my bag.
Let's
Can
do
we
it.
get it?
I need, like, my goal
Can I
is
get it?
to get him to like just understand that
Okay.
I'm not crazy. How are you feeling, Jock?
Yeah, this is good. I'm excited. Sorry, what do you need from me?
So pop your first name, surname, and
Across the top?
Yep, and your date of birth.
Cool.
There's something coming through straight away for you, actually. Okay. It's got to do with commitment.
I already know. Tell her, Jock.
No, don't tell me anything yet. Okay. Something very big's coming. Are we started?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, so something is coming through for you which has to do with commitment. Okay, there is something, an engagement, a commitment, so I'm going to give you words that come through, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take my glasses off. I need my glasses to read what I write after.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're looking a bit nervous, Jock.
Well, I don't know whether I should, but no, there's nothing to be nervous about, I suppose. It's just...
There's nothing to be nervous about at all. It's showing me, well, the messages that I'm getting is it's showing me that there is, you're in a situation where there's a commitment, okay? So commitment's coming through very strongly for me, all right? So that is really the most prominent, the most big thing that's going on for you right now. And we'll explain a little bit more about that. There is going to be a change for you in about 3 years. And there is also going to be a change in where you live. Right? And I feel that they're showing me too the move. You have to tell me as we go along with this down the track. The move is showing that it'll be more of an interstate move. Okay?
Yeah,
You
right.
little rat. You're not leaving. You're not leaving.
That's okay. It's 3 years' time. We've got plenty of time here.
Yeah.
But there is definitely going to be, a change and a shift in that perspective.
Yeah.
But this change that you're going to experience will expand you further, and it'll expand you into areas that you've been wanting to get into. And there's also, I don't know if actually you do have them or you don't have them, but I'm going to say it anyway, there is also children showing up here. Okay, 2 children. 2 children, a boy and a girl. A boy and a girl. You've got to make some decisions too. You've got to make some decisions, and this has got to do with the expansion of what happens with you. You've almost got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. 1 foot in is knowing the big picture of what you want. 1 foot out going, whoa, you know what I mean? The time is not right, or whatever that might be. You need to actually free flow with it, okay? You need to actually let go of any, I'm going to call it fear, or any limitations that's holding you back. Because that you're kind of almost in a little bit of a situation where, you know, you have to make these decisions. You have to trust yourself. You have to be able to say, you know what, I'm also deserving of what it is that I'm really, really holding in my heart that I really, really want. You know when you might get say you get an offer or you get a proposal and you go, wow, this sounds amazing. And then all of a sudden you start clicking on all the reasons why it's not the right time and all the reasons. You've got to let go of that. Yeah. Because you get too much in your head. Yeah. You get too much in your head, and then what happens? You bounce it around, and then you create enough resistance that you can comfortably say no. Got it? Yeah.
I mean, that already happens a fair bit. But
Do you want to expand, Jock, on your commitment? Tell Sue.
What's the commitment? Tell me.
I did get engaged just after New Year's.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
And that's why they're showing me it's quite profound.
Yeah. We've got actually. Should I keep telling you the story?
Yeah, you tell me, because then I can expand on what comes down from that.
Her family, or her parents, are coming out to Australia. She's not originally from Australia. Yeah. And over Easter, we're all going up to Yamba, like myself, my fiancée. Yes. Her parents and my parents. Yes. And that's where we're all going to probably start talking about wedding planning and
That's where the commitment part of it is.
Yeah.
Because your commitment, if I had to look at a calendar from January to December, you know how you might jot things in, commitment is the actual big thing that's going on in this kind of, let's call it calendar year. Let's call it that, right?
Okay, Sue, I need you to do me a favour.
Yeah.
Is he getting eloped when he goes to Yamba? Because you're freaking me out.
No. No, he's not eloping.
No.
Okay.
No, he's not eloping.
God, I was like, they didn't tell me.
No, he's not eloping. But you know what?
Who
though?
elopes with the parents?
I don't know, some people.
Normally the whole point of eloping is
to get away from everyone. Do it
I
quietly.
don't know, maybe get away from me, I don't know.
No, you're definitely going to be there at the wedding.
Yay!
But I do think, I'm not, when I say I think it's a habit that I say, what's showing through that the wedding is probably going to be more overseas.
Oh, for fuck's sake, Lauren.
Yeah. It's certainly not showing that it's going to be here in Australia.
Yeah, right.
So it's definitely shown as an overseas wedding.
We're going to Kentucky.
Where is she from anyway?
Wisconsin in the States.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah, no, it is a good part of the world.
Absolutely beautiful. Well, what I will say to you is that this relationship or connection definitely has a longevity, without question.
You've already been together quite a while.
It's very harmonious.
Yeah.
That's what they show me, harmonious. And you walk the path together. There's no kind of discord where there's continual compromise.
Yeah.
So you're definitely walking that path together, and it's really beautiful. It's very beautiful. Well, the outcome of this is the outcome of this is that you are going to have two beautiful children. That
Awesome.
there is going to be a change in where you live. So that could be that I don't see you moving overseas anywhere, but I do see you moving away from here.
Yeah.
Okay, so it won't be that you're going to back overseas or anything like that. But the relationship itself is really, really, really beautiful. There's beautiful synergy, there's warmth, there's connection, there's understanding. It's a really, really beautiful relationship that has a lot of really beautiful layers of depth to it, She's beautiful. Like, her energy's shown up really, really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
Really
No,
beautiful.
she can light up her room.
And can I tell you why they show me 4 years? What's previous to this? So what's 4 years? Have you been going out with her for 4 years? Did you meet her in January, February, March, April? Did you meet her in April? Why they show me the number 4?
We've been going out for 7.
Yeah.
Um,
Does that ring a bell for you?
4. It could be like where we're living. We've spoken about we'd probably only be there for about maybe 5 years.
It'll be less.
Yeah, well, and we've already been there for a year, so
Okay.
maybe that ties into the whole.
Well, keep that at the back of your mind, because sometimes what happens is when these scenarios show up when I'm doing readings and when I'm doing channeling, is they'll show me a number, they'll show me something very prominent, and that necessarily doesn't come up in the moment that you and I might be having a conversation, but then when you walk away from here or in a week's time, something shows up, and it'll be really relevant to what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Or you might have to make some sort of a decision, and it'll be encapsulating it in that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why they show me numbers.
Yeah.
But they're usually, and they're really good too, because quite often is that I get months. They show me like months, If there's a question that shows up, they generally will show me a month. So that makes it a lot easier too.
Was Jock easy to read? Like, was he open?
No, he's a little bit closed. I can feel
I don't know how to be more.
No. But what you're doing is fine. Fine. I mean, you don't have to be a particular way, but you're cautious.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Do you feel like...
I'm pretty safe. So I don't hurt anyone.
No. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know what I expected. Like,
Yeah, when that's why you're feeling like, which is very normal.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah, totally.
normal.
You just, people
Very
just,
normal.
Does your brain feel a bit itchy?
it actually does. Like it's weird. Like, but that's the way I would describe it. Like it's a head scratcher.
Because the thing also too is that when we're doing what we're doing and energy is coming through, you know, they'll show you different things to tap into, and they'll also show you, you know, what this person is open to and what they're not open to. So I'm also very conscious of how I bring what I bring to the table, so that it is in a way that you can be open and accepting of it without feeling freaked out about it.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah. So I'm much more open to that kind of stuff than Skye is. So. Yeah. But no, I'm going to do a fair bit of
Research?
ceiling work after this, I think.
Ceiling work?
You know, where you sit back and look at the ceiling and think about stuff. Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
So
Yeah.
when you saw commitment and you said that I'll be going to the wedding, will I be going to the wedding with?
Well, do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm allowed a +1. we're like friends.
Sue, we need to talk.
I'm just letting you know she's bringing a partner, so you just got to make allowance for
Yeah,
that.
better not be one of your lousy ones.
Thank you for doing that. I didn't tell either of you guys.
No, she's full of surprises. That's
love
what
that.
I love about her.
Oh, that was
Absolutely
fun.
full of-
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
thank
I'm
you for
so
having
excited
me.
to just
you
share
for
your
having me.
talents with everyone.
Thank you.
Very exciting. I'm going to ask Sue how best to find her, get in contact with her, and I'm going to leave it in the show notes if you find Sue's channeling very exciting, then
Thank
get
you.
onto it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure meeting you and navigating through, you know, the experience together, and keep going.
Thank you.
Keep going. Keep going. Don't let fear hold you back. Don't let fear of or old, you know, old things that might come up, old stories, old feelings, old beliefs get in the way of bigger and beautiful things that are there for you.
Amen, sister. Love that. Let's leave it on that note. Thanks for listening to A Bit Rogue, where we uncover the stories of athletes, artists, and celebrities with their most rogue moments. Episodes dropping every Wednesday.